This is the weekly audio for study until June 30th, 2024. Subject: British People and Food. My Story by Teacher Joseph. Picture the scenario for one moment. The year is 2001. And I'm living in Spain. My friend Daniel invites me for dinner, and I present a thank you card to his mother. Yes, I actually brought thank you cards from the UK in case I ever needed them. Here in the UK, thank you cards are often given at dinners as a way to say thanks for inviting me. As she looked at the elephant on the card, she seemed confused. Why did I bring a card for something which was seemingly normal, like having a friend for dinner? Also, why was there a cartoon elephant on the card saying thank you? And I must admit, I had a hard time understanding or explaining that one. I initially thought that I had stumbled upon some kind of cultural faux pas before realizing that the problem was a little bit more complex. Eating together is really no big deal outside of the UK. It was not until I left Britain and started to be invited to friends' houses for dinner that I grasped that something deeper was at play, particularly when they started to ask if I enjoyed it afterwards. Also, in restaurants in other countries, friends would comment on how fast I ate. I really had no understanding of food. In fact, I'm sure that the cost of it, where it came from, who made it, etc., did not even cross my mind. I had no idea that it was a labor of love. The preparation, the presentation, the event itself, and the smiles of joy on faces. It was about getting together and sharing in the joy of eating. Not just eating as another task of the day. Eating together seemed to be an act of affirmation or validation, some way of accepting each other. For me at that time, it was just another thing to endure. Eating with friends in the UK involved a motive, something which was arranged to achieve a goal such as business, a favour, or other political motive. Otherwise, people eat alone. I caught little glimpses of food as a community event when I was invited to eat with different people. In the Arab world, for example, eating together is considered to be quite normal, whereas in Britain it is a very uptight affair. You spend weeks afterwards thanking the host, not because it was a memorable event, but because as a British man it simply is what you do. You thank people. A little thank you card is often sent afterwards. Today it is not quite so formal. Fewer people cook for each other as our social structures break down further. When I was a little boy in the UK, food was not something I ever thought about. It was there, all around me, and I ate it, but I did not think about it. It was something to fill my belly, to put into my mouth and to digest. I'm sure that I didn't even taste it. I did not really understand what taste was. Filling my belly was more important than savoring taste. I do have some memories of food as a celebration in the UK. On New Year's Day, we would all go to my grandmother's house. There would be 16 or 17 of us. My whole family would be there. Yet I have no memories of the food we ate. In fact, the only thing I remember is about how those days often ended. The whole family desperately trying to avoid the elephant in the room. Too many years had passed for them to remember why they were so uncomfortable with each other, but old wounds made a simple act like pass the gravy into a clear accusation of defiance. The way in which it was passed was so full of emotion that books could have been written on what it all meant. There were shadows in the past hanging over their lives. Judgment was the game of the day, and they saw good and evil wherever they went. It can be best understood in the words of Lucy Larcom, the American poet. She said, "The religion of our fathers overhung us children like the shadow of a mighty tree, against the trunk of which we rested. While we looked up in wonder through the great boughs that half hid and half revealed the sky, some of the boughs were already decaying, so that perhaps we began to see a little more of the sky than our elders. But the tree was sound at heart. There was life in it that could never be lost to the world." From New England Girlhood. I have no memories of what my mother ever cooked. I remember the type of food that she cooked, but I don't have any memories of the taste of that food. I finally reached a conclusion that for some people food is strongly associated with memories, and that taste is somehow linked to that. Yet in a capitalist society like the UK, the true meaning of kindness has been lost, and food, like everything else, is something you simply buy. I feel sad that only now, as a man in my 50s, I am slowly seeing the link between food and relationships. I now see eating together as an act of love, a sensual gift to the senses from the senses, and comparable to love in the highest form. Yet trying to explain these things to my fellow Brits is impossible. Some think it is a waste of money to cook for others. Some have the opinion that they would rather eat alone. And then there are some who are exactly the way I used to be. They simply don't even know why there is a discussion about it, and believe food is something to be pushed into our mouths to take away the boredom. Alone or with people, whatever. I no longer accept dinner invitations from local people. It's too uptight, uncomfortable, and unenjoyable. Nothing seems to flow except major indigestion afterwards. I think now I finally understand more about the bread and wine they gave us in church. It is an incredibly powerful act of sharing. Yet ironically, those moments in churches, participating in taking communion, were often the loneliest, surrounded by people who didn't talk to each other. Does it mean that sharing food has a power in and of itself? I understand as a British man, I am lucky to be born into this culture. But I'm also looking over my shoulder, wondering what else I've missed. Because it seems like being British comes with a huge cost, particularly regarding simple pleasures like eating with others.